Welcome to part 4 of Imperator Rome Abridged. Last time, we conquered our neighbours again, however, we've run out of neighbours. Now we neighbour Egypt. I tried to do some shenanigans to break them up, to make them a palatable blob for us to consume as well. This ultimately failed. Now we're just straight up at war with most of Egypt. We've lost a couple of battles already, but let's try and turn that around. We've actually started making a push because the enemy's main force is no longer around on the front line. Well, as far as you can see, I think you can only spot the enemy one tile away from you in the fog of war. So we're here, starting to take their territory and just wondering if they're going to show up at this stage. At the same time, having seen some of the enemy's number, I thought we could do with some more number ourselves, and there was an untapped source I had. Previously, I didn't raise the punt levy because the guy is really disloyal and corrupt. Well, we're going to make him more corrupt but more loyal with the give free hands thing, so we'll just let him be corrupt. In exchange, I'm now able to raise the levy and send them off to help. First, they'll deal with this minor barbarian invasion nearby, then they'll very slowly walk up the Nile to the front line and hopefully arrive in time to do something useful. Now we are able to push up the Nile a bit with our main force and take a load of territory, but then we spot a decent sized force coming in behind us here. With about 13,000 troops, I really need to go back to stop them, but I also thought, well, there happens to be 13,000 mercenaries standing very nearby, so I'll hire them, move them away to another fort, and then while the enemy waste time trying to take one of my forts, the mercenaries will regenerate their morale and then go in to fight the battle. This doesn't even nearly work because for whatever reason, our mercenaries didn't leave the tile they were on and the enemy advanced 2 tiles in that time. Thus, getting us into battle, we're defeated immediately and the mercenaries just run off into the distance, and now the enemy start to take our fort. Inconvenient. Well, I ultimately decided to take my main force and bring it back, and have the mercenaries move up to do what the main force was doing, just capturing territories along the Nile and being annoying. Here we are about to grab a nice, advantageous battle with that minor invasion, but in Arabia, as I'm moving up taking random territories over here, bad news occurs. Looks like we've walked into another powerful enemy force. The same thing I was complaining about at the end of the last part. We need some sort of autonomous mode where you say, if you see the enemy in front of you, don't just walk into them, because your guys will follow your orders perfectly, but if you're not paying attention, your orders might be to walk into a tile that's packed with enemies you couldn't previously see, and your guys will carry on and do it. So here we have that issue, precisely, and seeing how much stuff the enemy have in that area, I thought, okay, we're not going to push up through Arabia, that's going to be too hard. We'll fall back and hope they don't push against us instead. Although if they do waste time conquering Arabia from us, I don't really mind, because this war is really about the Nile territories with all the population in them. Looks like my vanguard force there was 100% destroyed in that battle, so they're gone. At least we won our defensive battle over here. Now I'm going to chase down the fleeing enemy force and fight it as much as I can to finish it off, and move north to grab some nearby territories. Those mercenaries will do the same thing moving up the Nile, but for them, well, they encounter the same issue we just encountered before. As I was looking around, I was like, wait a minute, boom, at the corner of my eye, I spot a massive enemy force going for my mercenaries. You really should play on the minimum time speed, I think, when you're doing a war, because there are no notifications for what's going on. You need to look at all the fronts all the time as much as possible. I had the same issue with Hearts of Iron, just not noticing major things happening because they happen off screen. Well, here it is again, and the mercenaries go right down to that enemy army with double the number. At least it's only the mercenaries dying, and by getting that preliminary dying done, it will be a bit easier for my real army to go and fight those guys, which is what I'll order them to do now. So far this war's really been a mixed bag. We've lost pretty much every battle, but we've taken quite a lot of the enemy's territory at the same time. We're technically losing on the war score, and I suppose that's what matters. If there was a peace right now, we'd probably lose something in it, so we need to make ourselves look a bit better. I brought my main force up and started retaking some of the territory that the Egyptians had just retaken from me earlier, and then once that's done, I need to link up with the mercenaries. They're just sitting around here trying to get their morale back. They've still got a decent number to play with. Now what I want to do is sweep in front of this nearby Egyptian force, because if I just attack them it will count as a river crossing and we'll get some kind of debuff. So I want to try and get in front of them if I can. Distracted as ever by things. Really need these guys to go and do their own thing while I'm trying to micro this stuff on the front line. So we've got a big number, but we don't have that much morale, because your morale is like averaged over the two groups that I'm moving together here. Meaning the low morale mercenaries are bringing down everybody else. We also fail to get in front of the enemy. They just about moved in front of us when this battle starts. So I think we'll have some kind of river crossing debuff. And indeed, looking at the numbers, we're losing a lot of troops here. Our morale goes very low, then sort of wavers at the bottom for a while. The battle doesn't end and we keep fighting. That was promising at first. I thought maybe we'll win because we still have the number. But the enemy have some more numbers on the way in, quite a few more. They join the fight, their morale goes up, and that's that. We lose another decisive battle. This is looking very bad for us. We have to fall back. We're going to have to concede some of this nearby territory, but we do have 9,000 more number from Punt now on the way, and if we can stay out of the fighting for a while, we've got 20,000 there who can get their morale back and eventually rejoin the fight. If we can just be careful there, we can still gain an advantageous battle and have more number and push back. Helping us quite a lot is the fact that a lot of the enemy stuff on this front line kind of just walked off. So here I am after having regrouped a bit. There's not much here anymore. I'm quickly pushing back to where I just was, with now little sign of the enemy all of a sudden, just that small group we can overwhelm. That's pretty handy. So they've obviously walked off to the north somewhere, allowing us to instantly retake all this territory. So while we lost that battle recently, it doesn't appear to have had a massive impact on the war other than giving us negative war score. We're now going to lead with our smaller, more disposable force, and the main force will wait to strike at an enemy main force if we can find it. And as we're capturing stuff nearby, I again spot something by happening to move the camera. The enemy have actually somehow got a force down here. There is a crossing they can make from the Sinai Peninsula onto the eastern coast of Africa that allows them to sneak into my territory over there. Handy for them. We'll send somebody back to deal with that. And then I discover some answers, I think, to where the enemy troops went. It was these guys. A lot of the force we faced earlier was this single stack of mercenaries, a gigantic stack, that's now regenerating. So this suggests to me it's recently fought, probably against me, and they've recently been fired. So actually there now aren't that many troops in that area, and we should push on. There are an increasing number of troops back down here, but we've got guys on the way to deal with that. We're going to go into the enemy's core, the densely populated Nile Delta region with tons of cities, plenty of which don't have forts on them as well, so we can quickly capture some vital territory. As for stopping this sneaky attack amid our territory, it didn't go that well. They successfully took one of my forts, now I'll have to spend ages taking it back, and we don't quite have the number to guarantee victory if we just challenge the enemy to battle. I need to not be walking across a river and things like that to make it go a bit better, so we're locked maneuvering around each other. War exhaustion is starting to become an issue. Our people are annoyed about mostly being on the front lines of this deadly war, and we get a variety of debuffs, plenty of happiness going out the window and loyalties falling. Well, we need to keep going. So far the war's just about even according to the war score, but it really feels like we have the troops advantage because the enemy have dropped all those mercenaries. However, not helping out is us losing a battle that I didn't even notice was happening off to the right. We just lost a few thousand troops over there in Arabia. Oh well, we're not really paying attention to that. We just want to press through this area. Now I'm going to pursue this enemy raiding force for quite a long way actually, because I couldn't catch up to them. We ended up pursuing them up towards my main force, part of which turned back to try and sandwich them here, but they escaped from that sandwich. At least now we can chase after them with 20,000 troops. If we ever do catch them, we'll be guaranteed to win that one at the very least. Meanwhile, the captures continue. We are taking key territories up there in the north, and as mentioned, lots of them don't have forts. So it's just a matter of occupying cities. The territories near them automatically become occupied. So at last we're gaining some war score, and it's starting to look like we're winning this thing. we certainly seem to have momentum on our side. We do get that battle I was going for and take out what at this stage is the largest known concentration of enemy troops in a one-sided battle. So things are getting better and better. We need to keep pushing with this and take as much stuff as possible. Looks like we're going to beat them again here in this follow-up battle. After that, all of these tiles will be free for the taking, and by just taking the important ones, the less important ones will go over to our side anyway. Constant distractions you might have noted in those last few clips, things constantly popping up, trying to hack through them. I'm ignoring the notifications at the top, by the way, because I was trying to focus singularly on this war and get it done. Probably could have actually dealt with those issues that are happening in the background, I just straight up didn't. I'll look at them later. At least the war itself is going well. We're taking back the territory we've lost, we're taking plenty of enemy territory, down goes another army from them that tried to levy in front of us. We are stuck in some very long sieges. Alexandria, for example, was on like minus 67% when we got there. This essentially just means you have to wait a really long time to take it. Looks like they tried to hire some mercenaries, but I was quickly on the ball and defeated them in battle, and they got unhired quickly. Handy. We also managed to defeat another invasion coming down through the Sinai Peninsula with a large force waiting here that was also taking back territory in the area. And these victories we're gaining recently will start to reverse the war score that the enemy had for winning battles early on, making things better and better. Our goal now is to end the war as soon as possible due to war exhaustion, but it needs to end with a good score so we can claim at least some territory off Egypt. Looks like they've brought out another 20,000 strong mercenary force, probably the same one I fought earlier, but by getting right on top of them early on before their morale has charged up, we can keep technically winning battles against them. This knocks them out of the war and they stop being hired. So again, possible disaster averted there by taking them out nice and early. Good attention paying, it seems. Now here we are towards the end of the conflict, where I'm making some important final captures, in particular capturing the territories that they have nearest to us. We need to occupy those in order to claim territories beyond them, because of the rule where claimed territories have to be continuous. So the ones they have near our border, while they're not very good territories, they're important for this that I'm doing right now, the peace treaty. We are going to be limited here because not only do we not have a maxed out war score, you're limited in treaties to claiming stuff of a certain value. You can't go above 100 number in the value of the stuff you're claiming, and it's got up to about 80 here. I think to claim another decent territory was more than 20, so I couldn't go much further than the claims I'm making in this deal. But we take a bunch of stuff from Egypt in the end. I think I also liberated a couple of random regions into their own factions, not that that matters too much. But yes, a sizable advance up the Nile, not quite into the Nile Delta, but right up to it. In the immediate aftermath of the war, I'm going to try and very quickly deal with a bunch of stuff. We are currently approaching a civil war with all of our internal politics unraveling. Looks like I'm trying to get somebody killed here. That will perhaps help with that. That's the disloyal governor of Punt, in fact, that was annoying me earlier. Here's an interesting colonization we can make. It's useful because it connects to otherwise disconnected parts of our territory. So now there's a continuous through line up that other route that isn't the Nile. Probably useful for something or other. Well, things are looking a bit better now than they were before the Egypt war. Our territory has plenty of extra people in it. While a lot of the stuff we got was empty territories, we've got tons of the Nile territories and the heavily built up and inhabited ones that are near the Delta. It will take another push into the Delta to really take Egypt's population and power away from them. However, we can't do that right now. We've got some war exhaustion to wait to go away and some aggressive expansion to cool off on. Still, might as well pop out the claim now, ready for round 2, and there is going to be a round 2 here. Now that we have the advantage over Egypt, we want to press it and take everything else they have. Winning that first war was the hard one. Next time, we'll have more money, more troops, more everything, more number, you might say, and we can take some more stuff. It might even take multiple additional wars to take all of their stuff, because the value of the Nile Delta territories is very high, so it would be a very costly peace treaty to take a relatively small looking amount of territory just with a massive population inside it. Well, we'll find out, I suppose. I'm confident that from now on, this campaign is pretty much going to go our way. Unless the Seleucids declare war on us, we can just do our own thing here and take over all of Egypt. I don't know if I'll end the campaign then, or if I want to keep going. I suppose you can keep going until you've conquered the map. Usually in a campaign I'd go until we're like the strongest faction, but actually taking Egypt won't make us the strongest faction, so there will be more projects after that. We'll see how I feel, I suppose, but for now, we'll just find out what happens in the next part of Imperator Rome.